Pop's been on kind of a roll of late.
Yep.
I know you knew that, expect some things like that from him, or you wouldn't have brought him in anyway. But
Yep.
what do you credit for this recent surge of offense from him?
Well, at first I think he's gotten not just healthy, but when you don't practice for a year and you have to sit out. Basketball is such a skill game that like his skills just weren't caught up to where they were. And then when he's not able to practice, he obviously can't be able to play at a game speed. You know what I mean? Because he wasn't even able to play at practice speed. Then when he got back healthy, I think he had to be reminded of how hard you have to practice to be able to do it in a game. And that's hard to do, to trust your body after injury. So I think him getting healthy, but then him committing to practicing hard every day has allowed the games to be easy to him and be able to play it at the pace and the speed that you got to play with it in the game and not wear down.
He's mentioned to us how he's tried to really embrace that bench player role these last few weeks. Just how have you seen that, maybe just from a mental standpoint, help his play on the court as well?
Yeah, I've never been big on starters or non-starters because it really doesn't really matter. That's more. I mean, if you look at all teams I've coached, we a lot of times the starter doesn't play the most minutes or isn't in the top 5 in minutes. So really, what comes down to your value in a game or to a season is just the minutes you play. So, I mean, he's certainly playing the way he did last game, had played a lot of minutes because his value was really high on both sides of the ball. You got to be able to play both sides of the ball to impact winning. And, even though his offense is good, his defense and his tenacity and the ability to make winning plays, matters. And his ability to get to this point has come a long way. So, is he good enough to be one of those top 5 guys when he's playing well that starts a game? If you started your best 5 players, sure. But at the end of the day, I just don't look at it that way. I don't think starting is even relevant to anything.
That 33-6 run, and even the run at the beginning of it, how much do you feel like that is kind of proof of concept of the system that you want? Because it kind of seemed like that was maybe the a good game film of what Bucky ball is.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest deal is we were just played hard and relentless the whole time. I even told the guys when we were down, I just loved how we were playing. There wasn't a play off, a second off. We were, battling for every rebound, every denial on the press, running the floor, attacking. So, if you do that, you're able to have those big runs at some point in the game. I mean, we obviously came out second half cold shooting, and then we finally heated up, and we got it rolling. So I think that doesn't happen, though. It's not just in that moment. It was the whole game. We were relentless in our effort.
Look, you're 15 games in, and I think you've won, 10 of the last 11.
Yep.
In your opinion, how close are y'all to playing at your peak efficiency or peak ability?
It's hard to know. You really don't know. I do know that we're playing good right now. The only loss we had was SMU in overtime. We've overcome, obviously Mbako's injury too, and figuring out who can step up in his absence. And I thought that Ali Deeb was playing really well in that role. But, the way we are now, still not good enough to get to where we want to go. So we got to keep going. You know what I mean? And every team's going to improve. We've improved, I think, probably more than any team in the league from the start till now. If you just saw us in the Oklahoma State game early in the season, you said if we weren't where we are now, we've improved a ton. But, we want to try to think, can we keep going and improve just as much the second half of the season? I know we're a true team now. You can tell these players out there, they're playing for each other. They're playing for Texas A&M. I know we have an identity to our team. We are. When you turn on the game, you know what you're going to expect. You're going to see some scrappers and some warriors out there. We're not going to win every single game, right? Just in the SEC gauntlet. I mean, you're going to have some tough ones that can go against you. But, we just got to stay true to who we are because that's going to give us the best chance of having the long-term success that we want this season and all the seasons to come.
Coming into SEC play, you obviously talked about it just now, it's a gauntlet. To come out of these 2 games with 2 close wins, how much of that is buildable and how much do you just say hey, each game is its own, you make it and take it 1 game at a time, or can you really build off of these 2 results here?
Well, you can build off playing better and better. You know, like that's what you build off of is the momentum of playing well, even if we didn't win the LSU game or if we didn't win the last game, and we were still playing well. That means more than winning. It really does. I know people are like, "What do you mean?" Like playing well means the most because that's going to give you your best chance to have success. And so we gotta stay with that mindset, and we can't forget why we win. Like it's not like we have 13 guys on the team that are going to be first round draft picks next year. That's not what this team is. We win because we're a true team that plays exceptionally hard, plays together, and is talented. I'm not, we do have talent, but like we win because we scrap and we fight. And, I showed our guys all the winning plays and the effort plays from the last game. And if there was one of those not made, we don't win the game. And the same in the LSU game. Like that's just how this league is. The margins are very tight. If we ever get away and we think we've arrived and we're going to not have that pedal all the way down to the floor, we won't have success. We're making up for a lot with how hard we're playing and the togetherness and unselfishness and the tenacity that we're playing with. There's a look in our guys' eyes right now that like we're in here, and you're going to have to deal with us. And that's got to obviously continue through the highs and the lows.
How much did that win mean for you, not only just going back to the state of Alabama, but the way that game was won, the culture that you're building, and then also just the way it ended in the final second, all the emotion that was going through you in that game?
Yeah, they've got a lot of, I grew up in Alabama. My mom and dad, they went to the University of Alabama, so the Alabama-Auburn deal is hilarious. It's, a lot of emotions in that. And, for my dad and mom to be at that game, that was great for them to see their son roll in there to the jungle and get a win, So, no, it was fun. It was a lot of fun. I do like the coaches, the Pearls. They've been good to my players in high school that went to school there, and they've had a tough schedule. They played their record's not indicative of who they are. They've got one of the toughest schedules in the country, and but it was great to get an SEC win. That's for sure. The end of the game was intriguing, but I want to be absolutely clear. Like, I was on the radio earlier today with some people from the SEC, and it was just to rehash this for the Aggies because they're like, what the heck what happened in the game? You know what I'm saying? And so, we're playing in the game and there's, we're going to the free throw line late in the game and we're going to try to make two. We're up by 2 with 2 seconds left in the game. And we're going to make 2 free throws to get the game to 4 points. And the game's over with. Well, we missed the first one. So now it's a 2-point game. They call their last time out in the game. So now we're sitting there and it's like, okay, if we miss this free throw, all right, they're going to have to take an 80-foot heave as long as we hit the rim on the free throw. And, we want to do that. We got 4 players with 4 fouls on them. So, our chances of missing this free throw, them making an 80-foot heave are pretty low compared to them getting some type of full-court throw-in. So, anyway, between the first and second free throw, 0.4 seconds was mistakenly added to the clock. Wouldn't have changed our decision, but we wanted to miss the free throw. So, we shoot the free throw, missed. There's an inverted whistle, right? They took it, did what we wanted, throw a 80-foot pass, 80-foot shot that comes up well short. Game's over. We're ready to celebrate. We won the game. Let's go. But the inverted whistle says, no, hold up. There's going to be a sideline out of bounds. And so I'm just thinking, y'all remember the whole Americans versus the Russians,
I do.
You remember it. Yeah, you remember it. And so we're sitting there like, hold up now. A sideline of we just won. We're going to have to go win for a second time here. And we remember how that story ended. So, they take it, they get a sideline out of bounds with 0.6 seconds left. Like this is the only way that this game isn't over is if there's some type of whistle. So they get a sideline out of bounds with 0.6 seconds left. They throw it in, and Keyshawn Murphy's a player I coached against in high school. He catches it. We know if you know basketball how hard it is to get a shot off from that distance to load up. It's almost impossible in 0.6 seconds. And, the SEC actually, when they broke it down, as quick as Keyshawn did it, they broke it down. It was actually at 0.78 seconds when he shot it. When they broke it down, it took 0.78 seconds to actually get it off from the time it touched his finger to the time he shot it. Clock had started a little bit late. You're not going to get every millisecond right. Anyway, so takes it, goes in, the refs call it good, but the way that it plays out, every buzzer beating shot goes to the replay official and then has to prove that it's off his fingertips. It's not a challenge. That's not how it works. Every buzzer beater has to prove that it's that there's separation between the hand and the ball when it releases his finger. And the only clock that matters is the clock above the backboards. Like we know, every coach in SEC, every coach should know that it's the clock above the backboard is the only thing that matters. The only one synchronized to the true the clock. And so when they reviewed it, ball's on his hands, right there, even at 0.6 seconds left, and they declare, hey, basket's good. Basket's no good. Our guys start celebrating. Our guys are going crazy. And I'm like, hey, man, get out of here before they tell them they got a third throw in. Because if we have to win this game a third time down here in the jungle, we're not getting out of here alive. And anyway, that's how it transpired. But it was a great day. It was a great atmosphere. But some things that because of it wasn't a controversial. It may have been controversy down there in Auburn, but it wasn't a controversial win. Felt like we won it twice. So it was a dang sure a great win by our guys to go ahead and get it done. But something because of the way that everything went down, something that wasn't talked about enough is the great victory it was on the road, because in 6 years and 6 seasons, Auburn's only lost 6 games in that arena. And so that was just a great win for our guys and a great win for the Aggies. So I know everyone, I say that just for all our Aggies here to wonder, hey, how did this all transpire? What are the rules? And, I've been asked, why didn't the SEC just make a statement? Well, the SEC, when I talked to them, and they said they don't make any statement when the call is correct. They don't make a statement when the call is correct. There's no need. So that's why no statement's needed, correct call. It was just to see our guys, persevere through that. And, again, I felt like we were going to get to celebrate twice, and glad we got out of there alive.
When you talk about that end of game situation, the putting the extra time on the clock and all of these things happening in fast time, was the communication between you and the refs clear? Was it suffice or?
Yeah. So this is no deal with it. I'm just telling you what the SEC has told me after. They have been great. The SEC has been great to work with, because it was one of those situations when they had those inadvertent whistles and they got the ball on the side. Like, I'm furious about this, and then Auburn's mad. I'm like, what are they mad at? You know what I'm saying? And I didn't know they added the 0.4 to the clock. That's what was weird about it. I didn't recognize that after the game went from 2 to 2-4 between the free throws, because usually that it doesn't happen. You know what I'm saying? And so the fact I found that out after the game, that would not have changed our strategy to miss the free throw when they had no timeouts. And the strategy obviously worked, because they throw a heave that doesn't come close to the basket. But no, we didn't. I didn't even know about it after the game. I'll tell you something really funny though. This is so funny. Before the game, with about a minute left, the clock's ticking down. We're in warm-ups, okay? And I bring the head ref over there. The clock's ticking down. I say, hey man, that scoreboard is wrong. The 10th of the second clock is not working right. This is so funny, because look at it compared to that. They have a side scoreboard that the fans don't notice, but it's irrelevant. I said, and I was just worried that one of our guys may look up there and see it. The 10th of the second thing was wrong. Like it was going down wrong. Like basically when it's supposed to go to like 1.9 seconds, it's showing like 1 minute 9 seconds. So their 10th of a second mark was actually on the second mark, so it's not flipping fast enough. So I bring him over there before the game, and I'm pointing to it, and he says, yeah, but Bucky, the only clock that matters is the one on the goal. I said, yeah, no, I'm just saying it's wrong, And it came down to it at the end of the game. It was that we were going to the 10th of the second on that one, And so it was just funny how it worked out. Yeah.
So one clarification, that you mentioned the 0.78 seconds. So
yeah.
Did that come from your follow-up conversation with the league office, and how did they determine that it was actually 0.78 seconds when the ball came off Murphy's hand?
Yeah. So basically, if the clock, if you just had Superman on the clock and could get it exactly right from the time it touched his fingers to the time that they said it would have got off, it was actually 0.78 seconds. But even at 0.6 seconds in the game, at 0.6, it's still in his hands when the shot on the clock on the backboard, the only one that matters. is showing 0. And this is not a challenge. This is how the rules work, that every buzzer beater has to be confirmed right there. So, like I said, it was, I couldn't believe we were in that spot because we already won the game, I felt. But it was good to win it a second time.
Did you reach out to the conference officer? Did they reach out to you about that?
Yeah, no, I'll reach out just clarifying, hey, everything that went down because, I felt that there was a couple of things that, I needed clarification. Why was 4/10 added to the clock? Why was there the whistle happened after our strategy? So what you've got, I really respect the SEC because even though all the late game calls under 2.5 seconds went against us, it felt like, and they acknowledged some things could have been different. Certainly the last one that went against us, at least that got corrected to the obvious situation that the ball wasn't off in time. So that was good.
In all the games you've coached, where does that one rank?
Well, it's fun because there's it's great when we go on the road and get a W, and there's that much, there's that great of an atmosphere, right? Like I love that. Like there's nothing better than having, to be escorted off the court with security. You know what I'm saying? Like I live for that. And to have everyone yelling and throwing stuff at you and just going off, because you did something relevant. I remember a quote that someone once told me, and it was like haters only get loud when you do things that matter. Haters only get loud when you do things that matter. And if you realize that with success comes the haters, the only thing you can hope for is to acquire more, right? And so when they're hating on us coming off that court, it's because, hey, they could have been upset with the game, but we did something that mattered. We won in that building. And that was only the 6th time someone has done that in 6 years. So that was a great win for us, and that's what I'll remember about it.
Real quick, what some challenges for Oklahoma, the team you're going to face tomorrow?
Great basketball team right now. They're playing well. They didn't play their best in their last game, but they got great guard play. It's a tough matchup. Be anybody's game, just like the last 2 games. So we got to remember what we are. What I would say for our fans, we got to get everybody here. These margins are so small. They are. Dang sure can't assume you're going to win because you're at home. This is anybody's game. And so we need everybody here fighting with us, and I expect a great game.